about this topic. I also have written blog posts about this topic. Pieces of what I'm talking about are in my book. You know, it's like I'm literally creating ones, publishing everywhere, non-stop. I have a client call tomorrow. I bet you I will mention some of the things I mentioned here on that same call. So think about how do you take your content and maximize it from all the different channels. And the reason that's important when it comes to change, because who can go to their boss and buy a $5,000 camera if you can't do this? I couldn't do that, right? But I can buy a $90 camera when I'm doing this. And I'll kind of walk you through how to do that. This is actually an example for interiorsandsources.com. So what we did is I went out to this beautiful showroom, and it was beautiful. And I shot video out there. And as I'm there, I'm posting things live to social media. That's not that cool yet. Everybody can post to social media. My 11-year-old posts quotes to social media. She is inspirational to her 5 followers because I don't allow her account to be public. So, but anyway, so I post the things to social. As I'm out there, I'm collecting content. And then I put it on the website in a written format. So when people tell you video will be the biggest piece of content on the web, do you know, they're technically correct. Do you know why? Anybody know why? Because the size, exactly, because of the size. So if you have 100 Word documents on your server, they are still not making up the same space as that one little bitty video that you have. Make sense? So technically they're correct, but it's totally misleading. So you have to write. And the other reason you have to write is because Google, they will get there, but they're not quite there. They're not indexing videos quite as well right this second for search. So search still matters. You want to rank for things, and the only way you rank for things is by using the written word. And then finally, there's people out there who can't read and, you know, who can't listen or who can't watch. So for example, I'm sitting at the airport, I'm not going to watch a video, but I might read the transcript. So think about that. The next step, I did a podcast. So the way I actually created the content is I went out there, I talked to them, and I recorded my interview. When I grew up in journalism, people would say, don't record your interview. What if the device fails? You know, like what if I can't read my notes? My notes one time were subpoenaed by a prosecutor after I interviewed a murder suspect, and I said, why do we even care? Nobody can read my notes, including myself. It's the same thing, right? So, but I recorded it, I turned it into a podcast, and then at the same time, I shot video. So just how I put the camera right there, I put the camera in different pieces of the showroom, and I let it run. And once it was done, we took the video and we took the audio, we meshed it together, and now I had a podcast, I had an article, I had a video, everything in one place. Could I be any more efficient? No, right? I mean, seriously, that's super efficient. And then we still have a print publication, so it actually ended up in print. So just think about how to maximize your content. It's about return on effort. I don't know if any of you use the billable hour. I'm a big enemy of that concept because clients want you to use less or fewer hours. You want to have more billable hours, so it's competing goals out of the gate. But it is truly about how do you do what matters. And the only way that I figured out how to do it is by doing this model and trying to figure out how to get it on all the different channels, trying things quickly and moving forward. So the way you do it is really, really briefly, have a strategy in place. And I highly recommend you write it down. The only time you don't have to write it down, if you report to the CEO and you are completely aligned. Has that ever happened to anybody? Completely alignment? So make sure you write it down. What are you trying to accomplish? Why do you do it? Who are you trying to reach? How are you going to do it? How often? Make sure it's written down because you actually can go back and say, this is what we agreed to. What changed? Why does it have to change? And the strategy does change but keep that in mind. The next thing is non-stop action. Yes, you can take vacation. Yes, you can take a break, but you have to keep moving forward. So if you're not publishing, if you're not trying new things, you're probably too late. So for example, if you walk away from here and you say, hey, the guy talked about virtual reality a lot, let me put it in the plan for 2020. And then I'll see you here next year in 2020, and you started doing it in 2020, and you'll say, didn't work. I'm like, well, when did you start? Well, 2020. You got to start now, and you got to try it now. You can't wait that long and, move forward. The next thing, and this took my teams quite a while to wrap their head around. So remember how we used to catch up? You come back into the office and you catch up. It's not a thing anymore. I mean, seriously. So it's not about catching up anymore. It's actually about just moving forward in the moment and trying different things today. So when sometimes, we change a strategy, and in the old journalism world, what we would do is we would go back and update all the other stuff that's come before. Sounds familiar? You can't do that anymore. There's literally no time. I have 3 sites I'm working with. They have like 120,000 articles. Could you imagine how long it would take to go back and update all these articles? So it's not about catching up, but it's about implementing your strategy and building on what you learned yesterday and continuously moving forward. Great, that's really the steps to keep moving forward, to going with change. You might as well stop saying that change is so hard and implement with your strategy in mind. We do have like 2 minutes. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Who has the first question? Yes.
You talked about video being the biggest data.
The what data?
The biggest, you said, in terms of size. But do you think in terms of reachability, it is still the content because that's easier to optimize?
It's always about the content, right? You have to create better content that's more relevant to your audience. And then the next step is you have to figure out how do you actually move people to whatever you want them to move to. Okay. Great. Well, thanks everyone. I'll be here for a little bit. If you have any other questions, good luck with your change management.
The next speaker this afternoon is Nancy Harhut. Nancy Harhut from Nancy Harhut and Associates. Nancy's a specialist in behavioural marketing and she's an expert influencer. A top-ranked speaker, Nancy is also known for her